Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUENDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@cuenreview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUENDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
Evening Times, February 9. Opinion. George REDMOND says, "We are standing up and saying this cannot go on." Glasgow, you've had enough. I've had enough. Glasgow Labour have had enough. Our city is in crisis. Glasgow streets are filthy. Our education services are overstretched. And our communities are being decimated following the fiasco of the Communities Fund. This year will mean more than £400 million of cuts to our city since 2013. Enough is enough. For the first time, Glasgow Labour will not propose an alternative budget at the Council's budget meeting next week. This was not a decision we took lightly, but we are putting it back to the SNP sitting in Holyrood that we need more money. And that's not the view of just Labour councillors and Labour council leaders. That's a view held just as strongly and just as widely by SNP councillors. For the first time in perhaps the history of the SNP, there is a very public chasm between those in their leadership and those representing communities. In yesterday's Glasgow Times, Susan Aiken broke cover for the first time. She noted that the Scottish Government is increasingly overreaching and undermining local democracy and accountability. This is not to celebrate that fact, but to note what might become a watershed moment, to hope that it is a wake-up call that the SNP cannot stand up for our city. But no matter the seeming protestations from the SNP in councils, their parliamentary leadership appears to be unmoved. The Education Secretary has placed 11th hour restrictions on local councils and pays lip service to the serious consequences of those restrictions. It is evident that there is no additional funding coming. It is evident that there is no additional support. It is evident that the SNP are running local councils and local services into the ground. We will not take it any longer. Over the last 15 years of SNP rule, Glasgow Labour have acted responsibly each year. We have negotiated hard to improve the settlement for our city and put forward budget proposals that we believe best reflect our values and those of the people of Glasgow. This year, we will not do that. The chaos at Holyrood and the ongoing turnstile at Westminster has left us in a position meaning we cannot deliver on our values. The effect of the SNP's decisions is to pit healthcare workers against social care workers, to pit teachers against cleansing staff, to pit classroom assistants against rail workers. All public services have been starved of funding. All public services need significantly more funding to fund improved pay awards and to fund additional investment in frontline services. Respect for Glasgow is not in words, it is in action. By not submitting a budget amendment We in Glasgow will be standing up and saying that this simply cannot go on. The people that we serve in this city deserve so much better. They need investment and growth in our economy. The decisions by the SNP at Holyrood make that simply impossible, and the consequences of this awful situation will be laid squarely at their door. SNP and Green MSPs need to get off the fence. Are they ready to stand up for Glaswegians and fight for fair funding? Teacher numbers are at risk. Bin collections are under pressure. Social care is barely treading water. Something needs to change. Glasgow deserves better. It's time for a fairer Glasgow, a cleaner, greener, stronger Glasgow, a Glasgow that only a Labour government can deliver, says George Redmond. Evening Times, February 9. Lifestyle. BBC's Happy Valley, part of Glasgow Caledonian University curriculum. Report by Caroline Wilson. It drew to a close on Sunday after a gripping finale that drew in 7.5 million viewers, making it this year's most watched TV programme. However, while the doors have firmly been closed on another series of BBC's Happy Valley, the characters and some of its most pivotal scenes will live on in lecture theatres at a Scots university. A professor who teaches the only full-time master's degree dedicated to TV drama says she will be incorporating scenes from Sally Wainwright's masterpiece drama into her lessons. Professor Anne-Marie de Mambro, who's a lecturer at Glasgow Caledonian University's MA in TV Fiction Writing, said the series had blindsided the public in its brilliance, avoiding dramatic cliches with the perfect marriage of brilliant writing and perfect casting. She said she intended to look at particular scenes with her students, particularly those that defy what is generally taught about writing for TV. She said, "It goes against a lot of what we teach. That's what's so wonderful about it." The penultimate episode ends with a phone call between two people, Tommy Lee Royce and son Ryan. You tend to teach people not to overwrite the dialogue. Phone calls can be quite dull. Don't have scenes that are too long. But because it's so unique and so original, it works. I would imagine that it's written from the heart, and these are characters that the writer really believes in, who are so flawed. It's so deeply, deeply emotional. It's raw from start to finish. Her daughter has been raped and has killed herself, and it's all backstory. Some editors might say to bring that into the present day, but the decisions Sally Wainwright has made, I think, have been excellent. She doesn't shy away from it at all, and that is the thing I teach my students more than all. Drama is about emotions. It's not trying to be clever. She said the fact that the central character, Catherine Kaywood, played by Sarah Lancashire, is a single woman on the verge of retirement and so charismatic, was also fairly exceptional in TV drama. And she added, "There's no romances really, but to me there are two big love stories in it. There is the two sisters, and the other central relationship is the one between grandmother and grandson. These are relationships that are so worth exploring. You don't really see much of these in primetime drama. They are usually reserved for soaps, and she has shone a microscope on them." The skill in her writing, she adds, is to leave viewers conflicted about Tommy Lee Royce, played by James Norton, a character who shouldn't really engender much or any sympathy. And she said, "He's so despicable, but we've got glimpses. His mother was a prostitute and was murdered, so he's had a terrible upbringing. I didn't feel any sympathy for him until the end, in one of the final scenes, when he went into the house, and it's the power of the acting as well as the writing, and he was looking around. You know that he's feeling, here's a decent home, when he is looking through the photo album. He's never had any chances in his life. Now and again you realise how awful his life has been, such as when he remarks that he's never been abroad before, when he picked up in a van by mob boss Darius Nezevich after his dramatic courtroom escape. "It's phenomenal what she's doing," said Professor Di Mambro. "I don't know if she had it all worked out from the start, or if she's come to each series fresh with new ideas as it expanded. I think if other writers could figure out how she did it, they would all be laughing. I think it's blindsided us. It's so good." She said it was her belief that the best drama usually came from writers who had a grounding in soaps. Sally Wainwright developed her writing skills on Coronation Street from 1994 to 1999, and early in her career, she was a scriptwriter on radio serial drama, The Archers. She has since said that working on continuing drama was a great education in discipline, and a lesson that great stories are hard work. Said the lecturer, "They don't shy away from the big emotional scenes. There were scenes where James Norton's character is smoking a cigarette, and it's so sinister. You just have to see him on the screen. I would think this will have done his career no harm. He's obviously brilliant." She said the last episode had delivered everything viewers could hope for, and it was the right decision to end the series there. It was so driven by that central horror of the man who raped her daughter, and that's concluded, she said. It's a stand-alone masterpiece. Report by Caroline Wilson.
From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of February 2023, from the news section. Glasgow Court. Man, 70, appears accused of raping 13-year-old girl. Report by Connor Gordon. A pensioner has appeared in court accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. John MacDonald, 70, allegedly committed the crime at a property in Rutherglen between August and September 2018. Court papers state MacDonald raped the girl as well as carried out other sexual conduct without her consent. MacDonald made no plea at a private hearing at the Glasgow Sheriff Court. He was represented by his lawyer, Haroon Malik. MacDonald, of Auchinleck, East Ayrshire, was granted bail with special conditions by Sheriff Valerie Mays. His next court date is to be determined. And that report was by Connor Gordon. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of February 2023, from the news section. Plane on fire in emergency landing at Glasgow Prestwick Airport, by Esther Turneye. A plane on fire carried out an emergency landing at Glasgow Prestwick Airport. The New York-bound Delta aircraft left Edinburgh at 11:03 this morning. According to flight radar, after flying over Glasgow, it was forced to land at Prestwick Airport due to issues with the plane. In a video posted by a passenger on Facebook, one of the plane's wings can be seen on fire. People in the background can be heard talking. The Scottish Fire Service has confirmed that they were called to Prestwick Airport at 11:23 am this morning. A spokesperson said they were alerted of an issue with one of the aircrafts. There were no injuries reported and the firefighters left the scene at 12:57 pm. A Delta Airlines spokesperson told the Daily Record, Delta Flight 209 from Edinburgh to New York /JFK safely diverted to Prestwick, Glasgow, after a mechanical issue with the aircraft. We apologise to our customers for this inconvenience and are working to get them to their final destination as quickly as possible. The plane landed safely in Prestwick
and our maintenance teams are evaluating the aircraft. We'll be in touch with any updates. And that report was by Esther Tarnow. From the Glasgow Times, Friday the 10th of February 2023, from the news section. 2 teens arrested after sectarian vandalism in Cambuslang. Report by Esther Tarnow. 2 teenagers were arrested after alleged sectarian vandalism. Police officers were called to reports of the incidents, which took place in Hamilton Road and Main Street in Cambuslang between Saturday and Monday, January the 21st and 23rd. Both boys have been charged and a report has been submitted. On Facebook, officers from the Lanarkshire Police Division said, "We are committed to tackling hate crime and sectarianism in our communities. We listen and we act. Help us protect property." And that report was by Esther Tarnow.
Evening Times, February 10. Opinion. David Linden says Glasgow's levelling up bids were snubbed by Westminster. One of the things the Tories are really good at, admittedly not words I normally use as a Glasgow MP, is coming up with simple campaign phrases that stick in people's minds. Vote Leave, take back control. Get Brexit done. Levelling up. These are just a few of the big Tory party messages in recent years. All of them are actually vacuous nonsense, but they are really effective in terms of making folk think that the Tories actually have a plan to make our lives better. Spoiler, they don't. In reality, all the Tories have are snappy sound bites and no substance. Unfortunately for our city, we recently learned yet again that the British government often delivers little more than empty rhetoric. Until fairly recently in Glasgow, you could not turn a street corner without seeing billboard adverts from the British government talking about levelling up in your area. So, not unfairly, the council here in Glasgow thought, OK, let's apply for some of that. Despite recently making 7 impressive bids for levelling up funding, Glasgow was snubbed and awarded nothing. Zilch. Hee-haw. The reaction across Glasgow to this latest Westminster snub, both from politicians and civic society, has been fierce. Our city lost out, it would seem, so that Tory constituencies and target seats could have money funnelled into them. Yes, it really was as blatant as that. Rishi Sunak, who previously caused controversy after he was secretly filmed boasting about taking money from deprived urban areas and redirecting it to more affluent parts of the UK, has made sure that his own wealthy constituency in rural Yorkshire received £19 million. The southeast of England, hardly known for deprivation, has had buckets of cash siphoned in. That isn't levelling up, it's levelling down. Our funding applications, one for every Westminster constituency in Glasgow, were well thought through, and each had the potential to deliver real transformative change for the benefit of everyone living here. One of the bids was for a part of my constituency in desperate need of regeneration funding. Since summer last year, I have been trying to make the British government sit up and take notice of the need for Easterhouse to finally get its fair share. The proposal would have allowed enhancement of the Lochs Shopping Centre building, public realm improvements at key access points, including the car park and public entrances, and wider access improvements to the active travel network, particularly focused on links to existing facilities and the Seven Lochs Wetland Park. Late last year, I asked to meet the Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove, to make the case for the Easterhouse Town Centre proposal. He told me he was too busy to hear about Easterhouse's plea for cash. If levelling up is truly about lifting up areas which have been left behind and impacted by deprivation, then overlooking Easterhouse makes no sense whatsoever. Over and above the decades of austerity inflicted on us by Westminster governments we didn't vote for, Easterhouse recently had its jobs centre, a vital resource in tackling high unemployment in the area, shut down by the out-of-touch Department for Work and Pensions. Having deserted and abandoned Easterhouse, the UK government has once again doubled down on its betrayal of Glasgow. Looking at the funding distribution and seeing just how well the southeast of England did, it frankly looks less like levelling up and more like topping up the obscene levels of wealth in that part of these islands. Glasgow is a great city, and its best asset truly is the folk who live here. Hence the slogan, "People make Glasgow." But there is no doubt that decades of austerity, deindustrialisation, and economic storms have taken their toll on our city. A little investment can give our dear green place the chance to shine. Take, for example, the fantastic new state-of-the-art purpose-built TV studio in Kelvin Hall, co-funded by the Scottish Government and Glasgow City Council. This represents jobs, opportunity and growth. COP26 showed Glasgow at its best, a modern, dynamic and outward-looking city with a great story to sell. But it's not acceptable for British government politicians to jet in for a big climate conference, show their international counterparts around Finnieston, and then fly back out, only to reject not only our levelling up funding applications, but even the opportunity to discuss them. Throughout and since the 2014 referendum, we were told that Scotland should stay, indeed that we should lead rather than leave the United Kingdom. Westminster pled with Scots and succeeded in asking people to politely decline the opportunity of a better future with yet another hollow catchphrase, "No thanks." To finish how I began, I'll give the Tories credit one last time by admitting that they have not completely abandoned that particular slogan. Because when Glasgow came calling for the levelling up cash that it so deserves, the British government revealed the full version. Levelling up Glasgow? No thanks. Report by David Linden. Evening Times, February 10. Lifestyle. Footballers prove age is no barrier with new walking football sessions. Report by Morgan Carmichael. Walking football for over 50s has just hit the North Lanarkshire area. The 1-hour weekly sessions, which have been organised by Active North Lanarkshire, are designed to be fun and enjoyable, while helping to improve attendees' overall health and well-being. The sessions are held indoors at Townhead Community Centre on Monday evenings and outdoors at Broadwood Stadium on Tuesdays and at Airdrie Leisure Centre on Thursdays. Scott Curry, Football Development Officer, said, "Age should not be a barrier to playing the game you love and getting together with like-minded people for a kickabout. We hear so many people say that you never lose your touch or class on the ball. Well, now is the time to prove it. Our sessions are for players of all abilities and fitness levels. We have been running them for a few years now, and the feedback we receive has been brilliant. The rules are adapted to keep it as close to the normal game as possible, with the obvious difference being no running. I would encourage anyone looking to boost their fitness to come along, dust off their boots, and join the fun. Being active is important to maintaining good physical and mental health, and our walking football is a great way to do just that. It also gives the opportunity to widen your social circle or get a game again with your friends or work colleagues.
Glasgow Times recorded on Monday 13th of February 2023. News: Alexandra Parade Station, Glasgow, woman hospitalised after incident, by Sarah Campbell, digital journalist. A woman was taken to hospital yesterday afternoon following an incident at a Glasgow train station which prompted a 999 response. The Glasgow Times previously reported that a number of ScotRail services had been cancelled or delayed on Sunday due to an incident between Belgrove and Springburn stations. It has now been confirmed that emergency services were called to Alexandra Parade Station in the city's East End at around 3 p.m, following reports of a casualty on the tracks. Paramedics attended to a woman who was later taken to hospital for treatment for her injuries. The incident is not being treated as suspicious. A British Transport Police spokesperson: officers were called to Alexandra Parade Station at 3 p.m. on February 12 following reports of a casualty on the tracks. Paramedics also attended and a woman was taken to hospital. The incident is not being treated as suspicious. By Sarah Campbell. Glasgow Times recorded on Monday 13th of February 2023. News: Glasgow Kelvin College plan to shut campus. By Caroline Wilson, senior reporter. An award-winning Glasgow college has announced plans to close its West End campus as part of efforts to cut costs as the further education sector battles funding challenges. Glasgow Kelvin College said it was seeking to consolidate learning at its three larger campuses in Springburn, the East End and Easterhouse in the city. It said the West End campus in Hotspur Street was replicating much of the curriculum offered at Clyde College's nearby Anniesland campus, and the plans would reduce the overall operating costs. College leaders said there would be minimal impact because the building accommodates 3% of students overall, and 5% who use the campus reside in the Maryhill and Hillhead catchment area. They said there would be no reduction in the volume of learning opportunities available to students, and said the plans will ensure best use of public monies by addressing any duplication of learning resources. A college spokesperson said no final decision had been made, and it has entered a period of consultation with staff, students and other stakeholders. Glasgow Kelvin College was formed in 2013 through the merger of Stowe, North Glasgow and John Wheatley colleges. A college spokeswoman said Glasgow Kelvin College is planning to consolidate its learning and teaching by relocating classes from its West End campus to its remaining three campuses in North East Glasgow. The college is seeking best value for the communities in its catchment area and for the public purse. It is exploring options for the future of its campus building in the west of the city, which delivers only a small part of its overall curriculum, i.e. 3.5%. The college is consulting with students, staff and relevant stakeholders. No decision has as yet been made by the College Board of Management. The building is owned by Glasgow Kelvin College, but any future plans for its use would have to be agreed with the Scottish Funding Council. Scottish colleges are facing substantial funding and financial challenges from real terms cuts, plus rising energy, inflation and staff costs. The City of Glasgow College, which is 30,000 students, said in December that cost pressures meant they had to make cuts of £4 million. Their statement confirmed a voluntary severance scheme for staff, and around 70 posts are likely to be lost amid the effort to make the savings. The college has recently come under fire over the number of foreign trips taken by its principal, Dr. Paul Little. A Freedom of Information request by the Daily Record revealed he racked up 20 trips before backing the redundancy scheme for staff. The cost of the college came to around £27,000, with some of the trips funded by partner organisations. The college said in response to the story that it generated valuable income from the trips. Glasgow Kelvin College was named after the scientist Lord Kelvin, as a statement of its intent to promote engineering and scientific education programmes. It won the UK Beacon Award for widening access to FE/HE for 16 to 19-year-olds in 2013, and offers an innovative transitions to learning and work programme for care-experienced young people, which has received national recognition. By Caroline Wilson. Glasgow Times recorded on Monday 13th of February 2023. News. Huge comedy star announces Glasgow Hydro show by Stacey Mullen, editor. Comedy star Michael McIntyre will bring his world tour to Glasgow. The Wheel host will perform his stand-up routine at the Hydro in Finniston on May 18 next year. Tickets for the brand new show, Magnificent, will be on pre-sale from February 15, costing £30.10 to £126.55. Michael, 46, is the host of two of the BBC's most successful entertainment shows, the BAFTA-winning Michael McIntyre's Big Show and The Wheel, which he devised and also hosts for NBC in America. His previous tours have sold over 4 million tickets and broken box office records around the world. For more information, see www.ovohydro.com. By Stacey Mullen, Glasgow Times, recorded on Monday 13th of February 2023. News. Man with drugs threw them away after being pursued by cops in Glasgow. Exclusive by Lauren Brownlee, senior reporter. A man who threw drugs in a bush after being pursued by cops has been ordered to carry out unpaid work. Mohammed Mukhtar, 25, had £1,400 worth of drugs in his possession on October 7, 2021. Undercover cops spotted a man loitering in Armadale Street in Denniston. He was seen to be on the lookout for someone. A grey BMW then stopped beside the man and he got into the car before exiting. Cops then followed the BMW vehicle which Mukhtar was driving. After stopping at a red light in Duke Street, officers approached the driver's window and identified themselves. At Glasgow Sheriff Court on Thursday, the Procurator Fiscal Depute said they requested that the accused pull over to the near side of the road, which he did. Police spoke with him and could smell cannabis coming from the vehicle. The accused's vehicle was searched. A large quantity of money, £2,950, and a counting sheet were found. Police also noted 6 zip-sealed bags located in a seat along with 1 bag of mixed coins totalling £50.85, which was again with a counting sheet. The accused was informed he was going to be searched. The accused produced from his jacket pocket mixed notes totalling £450. Police retraced the route that Mukhtar had taken, which included him being on foot at some point. On a footpath within a rear courtyard, police observed there to be a small plastic bag containing 17 wraps of white powder, which weighed 19.54 grams. There was also another bag containing white powder, which weighed 7.47 grams. Within bushes, police also recovered a bag containing 5 small bags containing white powder weighing 4.85 grams, and 1 bag containing pink powder weighing 1.14 grams. Mukhtar from Pollock Shields was arrested and taken to London Road Police Office. The drugs found were tested. The powder weighing 4.85 grams tested positive for cocaine. The powder weighing 7.47 grams tested negative for cocaine. The 17 wraps of powder tested positive for cocaine, and the 1 bag containing pink powder tested negative for cocaine. Mukhtar was thereafter cautioned and charged and made no reply. His lawyer said, "What the police observed was my client purchasing the drugs rather than the other way around. He reports that he was purchasing on behalf of his friends. He paid £950 and was to be reimbursed by his friends. The report indicates that my client is remorseful for this. He suffered personal consequences as a result. The family of the young lady that was his fiancée have put a stop to the marriage due to this matter. He is aware of the serious nature and very much recognises his part in it. He is suitable for a community-based disposal, and given his lack of record, I would respectfully suggest that you would follow that recommendation." Sheriff Bernard Ablett told him, "You pleaded guilty to having possession of cocaine with the intent to supply. I'm told you purchased this cocaine because you were going to a party later, and you had used your own money to purchase it and others were going to reimburse you. This is, however, a serious matter." Mukhtar was placed under social work supervision for 1 year and ordered to carry out 216 hours of unpaid work as an alternative to custody. By Lauren Brownlee. Glasgow Times, recorded on Monday 13th February 2023. News. Police shut Balmore Road in Glasgow due to traffic incident. By Sarah Campbell, digital journalist. A traffic incident in Glasgow sparked an emergency services response last night, leaving a stretch of roads shut for hours. Shortly after 6:50 p.m, a Trafcom update advised that Balmore Road in the north of the city had been closed at the junction of Ashgill Road and Hill End Road. A large police presence is understood to have remained in place as officers carried out their investigations late into the night. It has been reported that ambulance crews were also in attendance. Around 6:50 a.m. today, it was confirmed that Balmore Road had reopened. The nature of the incident remains unknown at this time. Police Scotland has been contacted for comment. By Sarah Campbell. Glasgow Times recorded on Monday, 13th February 2023. News. 2 hospitalised after disturbance at Hazlitt Gardens in Glasgow. By Sarah Campbell, digital journalist. 2 people were rushed to hospital in the early hours of yesterday morning following a disturbance at a property in Glasgow. At around 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, police received a report of an incident within an address at Hazlitt Gardens in Ruckhill. A 42-year-old man and a 39-year-old woman were found to have been injured during the disturbance and were taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital for treatment. The man remains there now with his condition described as stable. The woman has since been discharged. Police investigations are said to be ongoing. A Police Scotland spokesperson said around 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, February 12, 2023, police were called after a 42-year-old man and a 39-year-old woman were injured during a disturbance within an address in Hazlitt Gardens, Ruckhill, Glasgow. They were taken by ambulance to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, Glasgow, where the man remains for treatment. Medical staff describe his condition as stable. The woman has since been discharged. Inquiries are continuing. By Sarah Campbell.
From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the news section, revealed Social Care Overtime Bill for Glasgow. Article by Stuart Patterson. The overtime bill for social care services in Glasgow has topped £27 million over 4 years. Figures obtained by the Scottish Conservatives for every council show a bill of £150 million across Scotland. The Tories say it shows the level of staffing crisis in Scotland, with staff working more overtime now than 4 years ago. In Glasgow, the total was just over £27 million, with the highest annual bill reaching £7.1 million in 2021-22. More than 3,000 social care staff in Glasgow had worked overtime in the last year. In the Glasgow Times today, a social care worker told how staff were practically burnt out with increasing workload and service cuts. Scottish Conservative Shadow Minister for Social Care, Craig Hoy MSP, said, "These staggering figures highlight the huge challenges that social care workers are facing, with factions across Scotland forcing existing workers to take on more overtime. This has huge cost implications for local authorities, as well as risking the burnout of overstretched staff." And that article was by Stuart Patterson. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the news section, Soup Kitchen to launch first homeless food truck in Glasgow. Article by Catherine Hunter. A Glasgow soup kitchen is set to launch a new food trucks to serve hot meals to vulnerable residents. The Homeless Project Scotland, HPS, operates under Central Bridge 7 days a week from 8 p.m. onwards, serving hot meals and providing advice to people most in need. It will now be able to help those who are unable to make the journey into the city centre. No specific date has been set for the launch of the truck, which is the first of its kind in Glasgow, but the charity is appealing to local businesses to donate £2,000 to the cause, which will allow them to provide the free food service and offering free publicity to any enterprise that wishes to help them in return. Speaking about the latest development, Colin McInnes, chairman of the HPS, said, "We are launching our food truck in a couple of weeks. This will be the first homeless food truck in Glasgow, and it is the only homeless food truck in Scotland. It will provide hot meals including breakfast to the homeless and vulnerable across Glasgow and the West. We are also reaching out to businesses asking them if they would like to sponsor the truck for £2,000 a year. We are looking for 20 businesses to come forward with a donation of £2,000, which will go into providing the food and the gas for the truck, as well as publicity for their business. No one has been in touch with us yet, but we're hoping people will come forward soon. Anyone who is interested in helping or making a donation can email the HPS via office@homelessprojectscotland.org. And that article is by Catherine Hunter. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the news section, exclusive, Women's moving tribute to Glasgow charity after death of brother, 39. Article by Anne Fotheringham. A pioneering cancer centre built with £1.2 million raised by Glasgow Times readers is celebrating its 20th anniversary in the city. Maggie's, which opened in the Gatehouse at the Western Infirmary after a year-long campaign by this newspaper banked double its original target, is now located at Gartnavel General Hospital in the West End. As it marks the milestone birthday, staff and volunteers are keen to emphasise the centre provides care for everyone affected by cancer, including relatives and friends of those diagnosed. Chief Executive Dame Laura Lee said, "Glasgow has taken Maggie's to its heart from the day it first opened, with thanks to the campaign by the Glasgow Times in 2002, which highlighted the importance of our psychological and practical support and championed bringing Maggie's to the city. It has been an incredibly memorable 20 years, and I'm proud to say we have continued to support people through the move and the pandemic. The centre supports between 65 and 75 visitors every day, and Laura predicts numbers will continue to rise." She explains, "By the end of this year, we expect to see 19,000 visits. That's a massive increase since we first opened 20 years ago. By 2024, we estimate we could be seeing up to 30,000 visitors a year. A cancer diagnosis sends a ripple through the whole family," adds Laura. "With so much focus on the person with the diagnosis, the needs of close family and friends can't be forgotten," she says, "and yet they can need just as much support as the person diagnosed. We all know that when family and friends find the support they need, there is a hugely positive impact on the person with cancer. Yet many people looking after a friend or family member with cancer don't realise we can support them too." Laura adds, "I hear many people saying things like, 'I'm not a carer, he's my husband,' or 'I don't think of myself as a carer, we're just in this together.' Many people don't need or want a label, but that doesn't mean we can't support them. We want everyone with cancer in the family to understand that our centres are waiting to welcome them. It might just be somewhere to take a moment for themselves, or to speak to our expert staff about the variety of tailored support we can offer, including better understanding and treatment options, money worries, and psychological support." Naomi Good, from Cardonald, admits she didn't know where to turn after the death of her brother, Barry. "I was really struggling with grief," she explains. "A friend told me about Maggie's, but I thought it was just for people who had cancer. I didn't realise it supported relatives and friends. I started coming to the grief support group, which has been really helpful, and I've also had one-to-one counselling." Naomi adds, "It's hard to put into words just how Maggie's has helped me. I'm quite an anxious person, but I feel calm here." Barry was only 39 when he was diagnosed with bowel cancer in 2020. "He was a joiner and he'd been having pains in his back, but the doctors put it down to his work," says Naomi. "Eventually, he'd lost 3 stone and was in agony, so he went to A&E and that's when I found out what was happening. By then," says Naomi, sadly, "it was too late to operate. I really miss him, we were very close," she says, adding with a laugh, "He called me midget," she smiles, "and he always believes in me." The year after Barry died, Naomi raised £1,900 for a bowel cancer charity by walking 55Ks in 50 days. Last year she decided to up the stakes and do 100 5K runs in 100 days, this time raising £1,090 for Maggie's. "They've been so great to me, I just wanted to give something back to them," she says. "I want to do more for them, hopefully in the future." To anyone unsure about taking the first step through the doors of Maggie's, Naomi has this advice: "You aren't judged here, you're safe, and your story means something to others, and their stories mean something to you," she says. "It's a place to talk about the real stuff with people who won't sweep it under the carpet." She pauses. "I love the trees that surround the centre, they make me feel calm," she says, smiling. "I always think they're a symbol of this place. The trees might all stand individually, but they're surrounded by other trees. Even when you think you are, you're not on your own. Maggie's is here. You're not alone." Read more in tomorrow's Glasgow Times about 20 years of Maggie's in Glasgow. And that article was an exclusive by Anne Fotheringham. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the Lifestyle section. Huge honour. Glasgow Korean War veteran, 92, receives Peace Award. By Anne Fotheringham. A Glasgow veteran who fought in the Korean War has received an Ambassador for Peace medal 70 years after his service there in 1953. Andrew Glassford, 92, who lives in Sandy Hills in the East End, was overwhelmed when his son and grandchildren surprised him with the award, which recognises his time with the Black Watch Regiment in Korea, where he fought in the famous Battle of the Hook. Andrew travelled for 7 weeks by ship to Korea after he had carried out his national service training at Fort George in the Highlands. He was heavily involved in the battle and was struck by a bomb shrapnel, which damaged a large part of his shoulder. He was quickly airlifted to Japan for treatment before returning to Korea to fight. Andrew said, "To be part of the Black Watch Regiment and play a role in the Korean War is something that still makes me proud, so when I found out I was honoured with the Ambassador for Peace Award, it was a very special moment. Over my 2 years in the National Service across Korea and Kenya, there were highs and lows, but I wouldn't change any of it. It was a meaningful experience and one I will always be incredibly proud of. To now have a medal to remind me of my time there and to thank me for my service to South Korea is of course a huge honour." A skilled tradesman, Andrew undertook an apprenticeship in building before his time in the war. On his return, the industry had slumped, leading to Andrew qualifying in a second trade, carpet weaving. He subsequently returned to the building trade and became a joiner in the early 70s. Since his retirement, Andrew enjoys spending time with his son Paul, daughter-in-law Helen and grandsons David and Matthew, with whom he reflects on memories of his life, and his late wife Margaret, who he was married to for 60 years. He spends his days relaxing, cooking, spending time with friends and family and watching his favourite old cowboy movies in his flat at Beale's retirement complex, Lochleven Court. The recent award makes it Andrew's 4th war medal, adding to his African Campaign Medal, Korean Campaign Medal and United Nations Medal. Andrew's grandson Matthew read the citation from the Korean Embassy when presenting the award. Andrew added, "It was a very special occasion to be surprised with the award by my close family and a brilliant start to 2023. Ambassador for Peace is a title presented by the Universal Peace Federation to individuals in recognition of their peacemaking merits." And the article was by Anne Fotheringham. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023. From the lifestyle section, Batgirl film star says Glasgow weather caused obstacle for crew, by Mount Bedigan and Sarah Campbell. The star of DC film Batgirl says hearing of the news that Warner Brothers had decided to scrap the film was like deflating a balloon. US actress Leslie Grace admitted there were obstacles that affected the shooting process in Glasgow, but said she was still grateful for the experience. The decision that the film would be axed was made suddenly in August last year, just months before it was due to be released. Filmed entirely in Scotland, it also starred Oscar-nominated actor Brendan Fraser, as well as Michael Keaton and J.K. Simmons. Speaking to US trade publication Variety, Grace said she had found out the news like the rest of you, after reading reports in the media. Asked if there were signs that the production was not going to work, she said, "I'm not going to lie to you. In every film there are obstacles, and our film was nothing short of that. Half of the shoot was night shoots in Scotland, where it never stops raining. So there were obstacles, but at the end of the day, because of the incredible crew, nothing that ever got in the way of us delivering what we knew we wanted to deliver for this film." She added, "Even though I would have loved to share that with the rest of the world, nothing can take that experience away from us." Batgirl reportedly cost an estimated $70 million, £57.6 million, and the film was scheduled for release in late 2022, though the decision to cancel its release was reportedly due to poor screen tests. In January last year, the Trongate area of Glasgow was transformed by set builders into Gotham City for the production, with alterations made to shop fronts and police cars. The film was due to focus on Barbara Gordon, the daughter of Gotham Police Commissioner Jim Gordon. In an online statement following the announcement, directors Adil El Arbi and Bilal Falah said they were saddened and shocked by the news. They wish fans could have the opportunity to see and embrace the final film themselves. Fraser, who has picked up a Best Actor nomination at this year's Oscars for his performance in The Whale, told Variety that the news about Batgirl had been a gut punch. The actor said that the most lamentable part of the decision by Warner Brothers had to be that a whole generation of little girls are going to have to wait longer to see a Batgirl and say, "Hey, she looks like me." And that article was by Mike Bedigan and Sarah Campbell. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the lifestyle section. Glasgow pub The First and Last goes on sale for just $150k. By Sarah Campbell. A well-established Glasgow pub has gone up for sale in what's been described as a great opportunity for potential buyers. The First and Last on Maryhill Road was first opened in 1885 and is nowadays known locally for its friendly atmosphere, live sport and regular karaoke nights. Businessesforsale.com has listed the property, which has an overall capacity of 154, online listing the many attributes that would make this an exciting venture for new owners. They said, "The First and Last is a well-established pub and its name derived from the fact that it's the first pub you encounter coming from Mulgai and the last pub from Glasgow as you head along Maryhill Road. The business is a good locals pub, but has a reputation for being friendly and welcoming and enjoys a loyal and regular clientele. It is felt the pub was a great opportunity and would suit either a hands-on owner-operator or alternatively another investor or existing pub group looking to add to their portfolio. The asking price for the pub is £150,000. And that article was by Sarah Campbell. From the Glasgow Times, Tuesday the 14th of February 2023, from the lifestyle section. Popular restaurant reopens after serious Glasgow fire. By Marissa McWhirter. Two city centre restaurants have reopened after a serious fire near their food production facility. Sprig, a popular salad spot, was forced to close its restaurants on Ingham Street and Sauchiehall Street on Wednesday, February the 8th. The closures were caused by a major fire on Nuneaton Street at the NWH waste collection site in the East End, which was close to Sprig's food production kitchen on nearby Arrow Street, the Glasgow Times understands. The closure had not been easy, but the Sprig team was delighted to announce the reopening, citing that all bad things must come to an end. They took to social media on Monday to announce that the eatery will be reopening on Tuesday, February the 14th. They wrote, "We are back. We're so sorry we've been closed since last Wednesday. If you missed our stories and radio news clips, a fire nearby our production kitchen closed us down with immediate effect. It's not been easy, but all bad things must come to an end. Tomorrow, our shop staff return and both of the shops will have their buzz back. We'd absolutely love your support and hope to see you for a busy Valentine's Tuesday." The Ingham Street and Sauchiehall Street locations are open from 10 AM until 3 PM. For those who fancy a delivery, Sprig is open on Deliveroo from 11 AM until 9 PM. And that article is by Melissa McWhirter. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 15th of February 2023, from the opinion section. Nicola Sturgeon, Scots are rallying behind efforts to help victims. By columnist Nicola Sturgeon. A week ago, we woke to the news of the devastating and shocking earthquake in Turkey and Syria. More than 20,000 people are now known to have lost their lives, and there has been severe damage to homes and infrastructure in both countries. Charities and frontline organisations estimate that there could be around 17 million people impacted, many of them left without shelter and in harsh winter conditions, and there's no doubt that the devastation caused by the earthquake will be felt for some considerable time to come. The Scottish Government have committed £500,000 in emergency funding for the Disasters Emergency Committee, DEC, to support the humanitarian aid efforts following the earthquake. That funding will support those affected with medical care, shelter, food and clean water. Members of our emergency services have also been deployed to help the search and rescue operation and efforts on the ground. Members of the public can pledge support and make donations to the DEC appeal in a variety of ways, and I would encourage everyone to consider donating to the DEC if they can afford to. It's at www.dec.org.uk. I know how tough times are for families across Scotland right now, but the people of Turkey and Syria desperately need our support. Closer to home, many people, households and businesses are continuing to suffer real hardships due to the spiralling cost of basic essentials and the rising cost of living. A new report from the National Institute of Economic and Social Research warns that households in Glasgow and across the United Kingdom could face a £4,000 financial hit from the cost of living crisis this year. The Office for Budget Responsibility estimates that the UK faces a recession that will last for more than a year, and the International Monetary Fund suggested last week that Britain will be the only G7 country whose economy is forecast to shrink in 2023. And it is predicted that a quarter of households, around 7 million across the UK, could be unable to meet fully their planned energy and food bills in the next financial year. With Westminster causing political and economic chaos due to constant U-turns on tax policy, ill-judged tax cuts, 4 UK Chancellors in the space of 4 months, and Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget, the Scottish Government remains clear what our priorities are. We are choosing to invest in our economy and in the people of Scotland. Financial experts also agree, with a new report from the think tank the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS, concluding that Scotland's tax and benefit system is more progressive than the rest of the UK. The IFS reports that policies introduced in Scotland since 2017, such as changes to the benefit system and the £25 Scottish child payment, have particularly increased the incomes of poorer families with children. While it's great to see these fairer policies implemented by the SNP recognised as making a real difference to the lives of ordinary Scots, the UK government's financial plans look increasingly bleak, and there is no doubt that they are causing, and will continue to cause, significant challenges for us here in Scotland. We have consistently called on the UK government to provide additional support with extra costs for vulnerable households. Prior to the introduction of the energy price guarantee last October, we called for the energy price cap to be frozen, and now we need the UK government to cancel its proposed rise along with a reduction in support for domestic customers. The Scottish Government continues to take the action that we can to support households, including measures such as the doubling of Fuel Insecurity Fund to £20 million to help households at risk of self-disconnection or self-rationing their energy use. However, the key levers to really make a difference when it comes to supporting people through the crisis lie with the UK government, and we will, of course, continue to press Rishi Sunak to use those levers in the interests of households and businesses across the country. And that was in a column written by Nicola Sturgeon.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.